Hey everyone, PJ here, founder of Watch Trading Academy, and I wanted to do a tutorial for you guys today about buying your very first investment watch, or should I say, the right watch that is going to enable you to build an incredible investment collection, even if you have limited funds. Now, as the founder of Watch Trading Academy, I have been an investor and collector in the watch space for over 20 years, and I've built an incredible collection today, not only because it's worth a lot of money, but because it has enabled me a lifestyle that has produced over $200,000 to $300,000 a month in residual income. Now, this is a pretty far idea for the majority of people who are just starting, because you could technically start with as little as $1,500, access to a post office, and a computer from anywhere in the world. So how do we get from here to all the way back there? Well, today we're not going to talk about the big numbers, but instead we're going to start talking about the startup, the beginning phases of that $1,500 and how to put it to good use. Because a lot of times I see people follow me on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and the first and most common question I get is, I want to get started today, what should I be doing? So outside of actually joining Watch Trading Academy, which is something you should be doing, and you can click the link anywhere on the screen to do that, because we have an incredibly robust community and teaching curriculum to enable you to do this step by step and get very good at it. I want to give you the opportunity today to understand how a $1,500 watch can turn into $10,000 of monthly income, and why it's so important to get started today, even if you go at a turtle's pace and step by step by step, find yourself a little bit closer to where you want to go. So let's talk about buying your first watch, which $1,500 may seem like very little money, especially if you've walked throughout the mall and you see Rolexes are $7,000, $8,000 up, and most of them can't even be found at the store. You'll notice Hublots are $10,000, $15,000 and up. Panerais are like $5,000 to $10,000, and so your $1,500 doesn't seem like it could be buying much at first glance, especially looking from the outside in. Instead, I want you to understand a little bit about how us in the watch trading community start to look at that, because there are a ton of brands today that many of you may recognize from the mall, called Cartier, brands like Panerai, Hublot, Ulysse Nardin, and these are very prestigious brands when you don't know the watch industry, because you see these as large stores inside your favorite, most expensive malls, and you will typically look at that and be like, that's where the rich people go shop. That's where, if you have a lot of money, you buy stuff. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because you see, these are actually in the watch industry, or they are considered some of the worst brands for investments, because they lose, you're ready for this, you're going to be pretty hurt, 50% of their value the moment you walk out of the store, and in many cases 70% of their value. Now, this is really important to understand about the watch world, because this now makes your $1,500 look like it can buy a lot more. Because I want to give you an example. If one of these manufacturers makes a $10,000 watch, in its worst depreciated time, it loses 70 to 80% of its value, which means it is now $2,000 to $3,000. Now, I want you to understand that, because you remember your budget's only $1,500, but you're now able to look at $10,000 watches for just $2,000 to $3,000. So that means that if you had a $5,000 or $5,000 to $7,000 watch, you could easily get that watch for $1,500 if it was one of these four brands and you knew how to negotiate. So what I'm trying to get to is, if the MSRP of a watch is that, its depreciation value could actually be as low as $1,500. So when I say people can start with $1,500, those who don't understand my ways because they've never taken my course will typically say, well, wait a minute, that's not a lot of watch. I looked on the internet, there isn't much I can buy. But the reality is, just like the car industry, the watch industry is filled with good negotiation strategy and the opportunity to bring pricing down. Often many watches you see listed for $3,000 to $4,000 on eBay can be brought down to $1,500, and in many cases watches that are brand new for $7,000 could be brought down to $1,500. Now, you may be confused about how that happens, but that is why Watch Trading Academy exists. But today we're not going to focus on this exact how to do that. Instead, we're going to talk about what happens once you do find that watch, because even watches like Omega, Bell & Ross, etc. can easily be bought for $1,500. Now, each time we teach you how to buy and sell a watch, you see, you're going to be looking at making about 10 to 20% per watch. Now, this is very interesting, because I thought my cousin had to start this, and he was very young when he started. He was 17, so his parents gave him $2,000, and I bought him a $3,000 gift for Christmas, and he chose to take that gift and literally turn it back in, take the money, and decide to invest in watches as well. Now, every single time he flips a watch, we'll use him as an example, he's making 10 to 20%. Now, if we're starting with $1,500, this is, you ready for this? This is pretty interesting. It's $150 to $300 per watch, which means that if you were to flip each and every time, just 2 times a $1,500 watch, you could add about $600 to your portfolio. Now, this means that your watch would now be $2,100 in cash value. Now, if you're starting up, you're probably not going to want to use that money, but rather looking at it as an opportunity to evolve it. The power of watch trading is, especially if you're new to investing, compounding investments is very powerful, especially in short time frames. You see, the stock market compounds money at 10 to 20% if you're very active and very good per year. We're able to compound that per trade, which means that every single time you do a trade here, if you added 20% to the actual baseline, each and every time here, you would go, for example, 2,500, and then you added 20% to that amount. Now you would go again. You see, you take the 250 times 2, that takes you to 3,000, and you added 20% to that again. It would take you to 3,600, and then another 20% to that again. It would take you somewhere around 4,200, and if we did another 20% to that, it would take you to $5,000. Now, I want you to understand this because this is really important. You see, we started here, right here, 1,500. We had 2 trades. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 7 trades, which could occur within a 30-day or 60-day or even a 90-day period if you're slow, you will have a cash value in your account of about $5,000 starting at $1,500. Why does this matter? Because think about buying power. We just talked about the buying power being, again, in this case, 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. I want you to think about that. This is really important to understand. If you had $5,000 and this was only 20 to 30 cents of the buying power, think about that in a very rational way. That means that you could technically start looking, you ready, about $25,000 watches that only cost $5,000 used. I mean, think about this. Is one of the best things I love about my students, because today my cousin has a job that pays him like $600-700 a week working, but he's wearing $10,000 Hublots at his job, and it confuses a lot of people because they go, how do you afford that? Like, why do you have such an expensive watch? Was it a gift? And he goes, no, I just own it. And every time he sells it, he just puts on a different watch and keeps going through this step, which is very simple. What I want you to understand is that today you look at your reality and you say, well, I'm certainly not in position to spend $25,000 on a watch, because you think of the watch as what you've seen at the mall, at the MSRP, etc., and you think that's so far from reality. How can one afford to do that? But what you're not understanding is that $5,000 could buy you a $25,000 watch, and with the right skill set, 7 trades later, you could literally duplicate that at 20%. Now, I want you to understand how powerful that is. If the average person works a job and earns, just like my cousin, $600-700 a week, that means that within a single, within a single month, this person is earning, let's say 700 times 4, right? Which is pretty easy, because that's 1,400, that's 2,800 minus taxes, right? So basically, at the end of the day, my cousin's taking home somewhere around $500 a week. A week. But after multiple trades, right here, 20% of that $5,000 that you only paid $1,500 to accumulate in your account is $1,000, which meant that if you do 1 trade a week, that's it, just 1 trade a week using a tool like eBay or one of these places I teach you to do, $1,000 a week, you double your salary. You doubled your salary net. And therefore, if you add it to your job, if you just do 1 trade, that's $1,500 a week. I want you to ask yourself, if your job is paying you $2,000 a month, but I am telling you that by the end of the month, instead of $2,000, you could have $6,000 for the same work you're doing, and the only difference is the watch you're going to wear every week on your wrist because you're getting in and out. That's not a lot of effort. And it doesn't require you starting a side hustle, a second business, or anything else. It just requires you to understand this. How powerful would it be to literally 3x your pay without 3xing your work? How powerful would it be to wear a $25,000 watch at a young age just because it costs you $5,000 and it's going to make you $1,000 instead of lose you $20,000? This is why watches are such a powerful trade. And this is why I've been in a position over the years to grow from, hey, I started with a $3,000 watch myself when I was 18, and today I'm 40 years old, and I'm sitting on a $12 million car collection and almost $100 million in net worth by just having figured this model out and this new mindset about how to offset this luxury lifestyle without having to pay for it. Now, in addition to that, this can trickle into all aspects of your life, not just income creation, income preservation, and it rewires your brain about how to think of all luxuries in the world and no longer be a consumer. Now, if you want to learn more about this model, not just how to buy your first watch, but how to go through that process I just showed you and be able to get yourself to a place where with just $1,500, access to a post office and access to a computer from anywhere in the world, you could turn these types of profits and these types of opportunities for yourself. I need you to click the link and actually join Watch Trading Academy and learn more about this incredible and powerful form of income creation. So I love it. It's been a big part of my passion and like big opportunity for income creation, and I want you to feel the same. But if you understand this concept, then you also understand why you need to get started now. So click the link anywhere on your screen, and I'll see you inside Watch Trading Academy.